Hi guys, what I want to talk to you about today is this thing I come across, the teachings around Shoftim, Choftim, and it came up on the calendar, so I was interested in, anything I don't know about that, I love to learn about. So I did a bit of research into it, and there's quite a few elements to it that it's good, because it's like the teachings of Moses, stuff that happened around Moses' time, and of course Moses' time will be duplicated in the time of the end. Obviously you have the two witnesses, so for 3.5 years it's going to be like Moses and Elijah literally going to be with us here. So anything that's happened before is going to happen again. There's nothing new under the sun, the plagues and everything else. And so the stuff of Moses is really relevant, and stuff of Elijah is really relevant. So teachings of Moses is good, but when I was doing the research on it, it's like it kind of fits in with what we sort of really need today as church, and of the sort of lost tribes of Israel, which we are scattered across the whole earth. Is Israelites, not just the people who are not actually the people who live in Israel. It's the bloodline of Israel through the 12 tribes, the 12 descendants. So by blood you are part of the descendants of Israel. You can't be grafted in, as they say. Your bloodline, your blood is your blood, and you can't change that. You can't change your family, you can't change your father. So but I thought this to be good, because it was something like we really need in this time now. And anyway, during this time of Shoftim, and this is coming up on the Sabbath, this next Sabbath, they do the readings on the beginning of Elul. I think the first Saturday, the first Shabbat of Elul, obviously, and and we're in Elul now. We must be, because it was a new moon a few days ago. So it's the beginning of the Jewish month and the new year, so we're in Elul now. I know the 23rd of Elul is going to be on the 19th of September, so we're in Elul now. So they share this thing again which happened in the Bible, and so what happened was there's like 2 points really, main points that I take from it. Is that the first one being that this is the time where Moses actually created his government, if you like, or his church even, if you like, because there was no real separate, like, these are the priests and everything else. I mean, the priests were the Levites at the time, and obviously Moses and Aaron were Levites, and but he chose his government which would teach the law, the commandments and everything else, and then they would sort of, anyone who breaks them, then they would sort of deal with them. Oh, another thing is that with this thing that really attracted me to the teaching when I heard about it is that my name Justin, and the Greek is justus, with a US on the end, which means like justice, but apparently the Hebrew means just and true. Just and true are your ways, O King of Saints. And so my name means Justin, justice and truth. And so I sort of attracted to this, because in it, that's what they talk about. They're talking about justice and such and such. And so that's what really sort of attracted me to it. It's really sort of, it felt close to me, basically. So what Moses did was he chose all his people that would teach and execute, well, not to execute, but teach the law and everything else, and make sure people abided by following God, basically. And where's the bad thing in that? Following the 10 commandments, you shall not kill and everything else. So yeah, this is the time where he chooses his government, basically. He puts together his company, if you like. If you make it a business, he puts together his company, he chooses his officers, he chooses his generals, he chooses his whatever, to go out and to teach and preach the law and the ways of God, basically, to the people, nations, even different languages. But and then it moves on. It's got different teachings about other stuff, about going to war and stuff that You know, if a man's just made his new house and he hasn't even lived in it yet, or if he's just married, or he's going to be married then, and he hasn't, you know, been with his wife yet, or stuff like that. You know, basically, if you've just had a worldly thing happen to you, which is a good thing, obviously, you know, making your own house, or having a wife, or having a child, or something along them lines is a good thing. Then he says you should stay at home, you know. You go about your business and let the other people, you know, go to a war if there was a war situation, or go to do some sort of task or whatever. So that was another part of it. But the other part of it, well, the second main point of it is that this is the time where they elect a king. It says that, look, now you've made your government, you've made yourself a structural society, basically. Oh, and that was one of the other things as well, is that they made refuges, just like, and this is what I mean about end of the age. I mean, this is all coming to pass now. We need a sort of government. We need to sort of stick together as saints, like the 144,000, the descendants of Israel. We're going to all stick together as saints. And so we need that sort of government. But then there's the other thing, is that they put up like these cities, like refuge cities, and it kind of reminds me of where we are right now, because, you know, people are putting on homesteads and stuff ready for the first passing of the throne, ready for Exodus and everything else. So people are getting ready for this now, and they're making these refuge cities, or they're at least preparing themselves to go into the wilderness to survive. And then what's going to happen next? Sea level's going to be 20-25 meters. All these towns are going to be underwater. They're going to have to make for themselves refuge places in the wilderness. So that's another thing that correlates with our situation, which we're coming into in the end of the age. And so they make refuge cities. But another part of it is that they elect, or like God even elects through Moses, you know, a king, and it says a few things about him. Let me just paraphrase, I don't really know it that well, but that he should be part of your own people, that he shouldn't be someone who's stacked up loads of money and gold and looks to do that. He shouldn't be a person who stacks up lots of a big vineyard and stuff like that. He shouldn't be a person who has many wives, or, you know, is along them lines of having a wife, or even wives, who knows. So basically, he's a humble person to be the king of Israel. And so this king that it describes is basically a poor man. You know, he doesn't have riches, he doesn't have kingdom businesses, wealth and materials and such like that. He's literally a poor man. No horses, no money, no wives, no nothing like that. And I forgot to add in, but it just, the first person you think of is King David, who was the greatest king of Israel, over Israel. And so it just makes you think of him, because he was a young boy and he was literally had nothing. He was literally caretaking, babysitting sheep when he became anointed by Samuel to be king over Israel. So it just goes to show that this king who has to be elected has to be a poor man. And someone made the mistake of thinking that this person would be from the tribe of Judah because of the royal house of Judah. But remember, in the end of the age, there is no broken off tribes or anything. We are all the 144,000 from all the 12 tribes of Israel, all of them together, 144,000, 12,000 from each. We're not separated. So if we were to have a king over Israel now, it would be a king over all of Israel. Do you know what I mean? It wouldn't be, it'd be king over all 12 tribes. And like I said, this person would be a humble person. They'd be a humble person, and they'd do not all them things that were just said. And then it says that they would not fall away either. When they become king and they have power and they sit and they're recognised as being the king over the Israelites of that time, or of this time even, that they would not fall away. They would not become like big-headed. They'd remain you know, grounded on everyone's wavelength. is a proper term, I think. They would remain on everyone's wavelength. They wouldn't elevate themselves. But like Solomon sort of broke it, didn't he? He elevated himself, and then he started getting loads of wives and riches and kids and everything else like that. And so yeah, so that is the main point, is that they also elect a king to be king of the people, or a leader of the people. But you know, in my eyes, I think Moses was really a king of the Israelites, because he was the chief priest, you could say, or Aaron maybe was the chief priest as well. But you could say that Moses was really the leader of the Israelites, and then Joshua become leader of the Israelites. So you could really say that they were the sort of undisclosed kings of Israel anyway. But I'm going to actually do a bit of reading now because I don't know much about the subject, so I haven't paraphrased it very well, I don't think. But when thou art come into the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, you shall possess it, and shall dwell therein, and shall say, I will set a king over me, like as all the other nations about me. So just like we formed this church, we formed this group of people, 144,000. Now let's set a king over us. And as some people may say, you know, Jesus Christ is the king over us, and maybe the Lord God is king over all of us forever anyway. But this is talking about an actual physical king on earth. Thou shalt in any ways set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose, one from among your brethren, see, one of your own, shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not of thy brother, but he shall not multiply horses to him. So that's another thing, is that he didn't want to gather loads of horses for himself, not cause the people to return to Egypt. Illuminati, don't ever get the people to go back to the government which you have now, which is the Illuminati, which is the old Egyptians. And to the end that he shall not multiply his horses. For as much as the Lord hath said unto you, you shall henceforth return no more that way. Neither shall he multiply wives to him, that his heart turn not away. Neither shall he great multitude himself silver and gold. Again, no, he shouldn't have many wives, and he shouldn't have much riches. And it shall be, when he sitteth upon the throne of his kingdom, in other words, when they do set him up as a king, that he shall write him a copy of the law of the book of which is before the priests and the Levites. And it shall be with him, and he shall read thereon all the days of his life, that he may not learn to fear the Lord thy God, and keep all the words of the law and these statutes. And so he's going to write the commandments, the law of God, and he's going to keep them, and he's going to write it down and read it, so that he doesn't fall away from the commandments and the statutes. And his heart lifted up, not lifted up above his brethren. In other words, like I said before, he humbles himself, he keeps humble, he doesn't elevate himself and think he's better than everyone else, basically. And you know, there's a lot of people right now who think they're sort of better than everyone else. You know, a humble man will listen to the other person, and you know, converse with them. But there's a lot of arrogant people, preachers, false prophets out there which say, you know, this is the way it is. If you don't like it, oh, I'm going to block you and shit like that. And above his brethren, and that he turn not aside from the commandments to the right or to the left, to the end that he may prolong his days in his kingdom, he and his children, and in the midst of Israel. So it's actually saying that he will have, well, in this part it's saying that he will have children after, and he will not turn away from the people of Israel, which will be us, the 144,000, and everyone else. So yeah, I just wanted to make this quick video on Shoftim, and I thought it was very good, teaching of Moses, creating a government, which we could really do with right now, some structure. People that do two things only. These are the saints now. We need people who are going to do two things. We need people who are going to keep the commandments of God, all of them, including the Sabbath. And we need people that are actually going to willing to sacrifice for them. People that are actually going to say, oh, the Sunday is not the Sabbath, so we are changing to the Saturday, so that they keep all the commandments without breaking one. And then we need people who are going to keep the testimony, or give the testimony of Jesus Christ. In other words, teach everything that Jesus taught, as well as with the commandments, and that the true saints. So we need a government which are going to be doing them things. And then if it be willing, if we form this big government of or this big church, or whatever you want to call it, then possibly there may be a king elected. But obviously that's up to God, who's the king of Israel. The king of the south being the king of Israel, being maybe the prime minister as such, I don't know, coming against the king of the north, which is the Roman king, obviously Prince William. So we'll have to just wait and see. But I thought that was really touching, that Shoftim, because even though it was applied and not done in Moses' time, that I believe that it could really be done again in our time. So I've been Pastor Prophet Justin Roberts from End of the Age Bible Prophecy. God bless you all, and have a good weekend. Amen.